a quick one today because there's no new developments really on coronavirus, nothing substantially new to talk about, and until that happens, I've said all I need to say on coronavirus. There's not much else going on that's worth covering, but there is one new development I wanted to talk about. Richard Branson, or more specifically his airline, Virgin Airways, has asked the government for £17.5 billion to bail out the failing airline, which is struggling because of coronavirus. 2 words for Richard Branson: fuck off. We have elderly people, vulnerable people, people who are immunocompromised, young people, disabled people, who need our support much more than Richard fucking Branson needs our support. This is the same Richard Branson who sued the NHS because he lost a bid to get a contract to privatise certain areas of the NHS. The same Richard Branson who didn't pay tax last year on his new deals. So a tax dodging NHS suing billionaire wants £17.5 billion to bail out his failing airline, which is struggling because of coronavirus. Put your hand in your own pocket, Richard. Pull out some of that tax you avoided last year. Bail out your own airline. Because we have people that need our support more than you do. It's as simple as that. Don't start coming to the government asking for handouts with your begging bowl because your airline is struggling. Tough tits. The people that need £17.5 billion injected into their society are the elderly, the vulnerable, people who are most likely to suffer from coronavirus. Now, the government actually come out last week and said that they don't want to close down businesses and close down public life, essentially, like has happened in Italy, in Spain, in other countries in Europe, because it would negatively affect GDP, and that is the Tory ideology summed up. Your life is worth less than GDP. So I dare say they will give Richard Branson his £17.5 billion to bail out his struggling airline, because they always look after their own, don't they? The Tories have always been about looking after the rich first and letting the poor, letting the vulnerable and the needy to suffer. This is why they made a conscious decision to cut from the poorest first. When austerity was introduced, and yes, cuts were necessary in 2010, they didn't start from the top down. They didn't start making Richard Branson, Mike Ashley, etc. pay their fair share or pay more. They started from the bottom. They started cutting out social programs, cutting from schools, cutting from health, cutting from fire services and police services. They cut from fundamentally important aspects of society first before they cut from the rich. And in fact, they haven't cut from the rich, because since 2010, the rich, the mega rich, have got wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, while the poor have got poorer and poorer and poorer. We now have the biggest gap between rich and poor since the Victorian era, which is really saying something. It was the rich and powerful, the billionaires, the bankers, the corporations, that caused the economic collapse of 2008. They should have been the ones to pay the bill first. And then if there was more money needed, maybe we could start cutting from police and fire services and things like that. They should have paid their portion of the bill before it was passed on to the poor. It's as simple as that. But the Tories consciously chose to cut from the poor first, and so far no Tory voter I've ever spoken to has been able to give me a justifiable reason as to why it had to come from the poor first and not from the top down. None of them. And now Richard Branson is out with his begging bowl asking for money. Go fuck yourself. It's as simple as that. I know a lot of people like Richard Branson. They seem to trust him. He's a billionaire. He's self-interested. He sued the NHS, tried to bring it down, tried to get money out of them, which was already an NHS that was already struggling. Richard Branson tried to get money out of, even though he's got more money. He has got more money than you or I could ever wish for. And he's asking us, because the government money comes from us, he's asking us for £17.5 billion. Fuck you, mate. What an absolute prick. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.